thank you for joining us for another Maker interview. We recently had the pleasure of chatting with Zach Manring, who you may know from the YouTube channel SouthernGinger Workshop. Zach's a really interesting guy, and we think that you'll really enjoy hearing a little bit about his past, how he got started in YouTube, and a little bit about his projects and processes. So without further ado, let's learn a little bit more about Zach from the SouthernGinger Workshop. Hey Zach, how you doing?
Doing pretty well. How are you?
Good. Before we get into all the questions that we came up with, we wanted to first get a little bit of background. So is there anything that you want to tell the people that are listening or watching?
Sure, man. So as we talked about before, but I grew up actually in Maryland. I'm originally born in the Midwest, and then I was a military baby. So we moved all around, kind of resided in Maryland for the better portion of since I was a child, to about 91 to 2009, so pretty long time. Mm-hmm. In 2009, I decided to move down to the south into the Georgia area, which is where I reside now. So that's we moved around a lot, and then let's see, my background from high school, I actually started into computer design, computer repair, all that good stuff. So I landed a job very early on, luckily, very early on, to help a company start a computer repair company, and it got me into computer repair, or computer hardware rather. And then later on, I kind of was like, I want to do a little bit more, branch out from there. So I decided to get in from that into computer design, so graphic design, stuff like that. Okay. Very shortly after that, I got picked up from a company doing T-shirt and embroidery. So I was able to build T-shirts like this that I'm wearing. So just using vectored art to do screen printing, and as well as using the same artwork to do like embroidery systems for hats and stuff like the hat you're wearing. Okay. So that was fun for a little while. I learned a little bit from that, and then I got into like magazine and newspaper design. So it was like I just wanted to kind of keep moving around, right? So I did that for a little while for a company called the Penny Saver. It's kind of like some people around the world, or around the U.S., have something called a thrifty nickel. It goes out every week. It's just like a classifieds, it goes out every week. Yeah. So it's really fast paced, and you do a design and move on, do a design and move on. It was very, very, very rapid and fast paced. After a little bit of that, I got kind of bored and went to my boss, and she handed me a book, about 800 pages of, it was called Apple Scripting, in which I'm sure you're aware what Apple Scripting is. Yeah. And I've never picked up anything about development or anything like that. Well, that just slung me into this whole world of being a computer software developer. So that's kind of what I do now. Is I do it full time for a company downtown Atlanta. And that's what I do for day to day. And I actually I have my own company on the side as well, called Duck Web Solutions, where I actually build websites for small companies. Like, I like helping the small companies get up and going. So that's something that I kind of started off a couple years ago, actually. So that's what I do from day to day, is software developer by day, and then at night I try to hang out in the shop or do some fun things with the dog or even the girlfriend. So. Cool. Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
It's interesting. I didn't know that about you. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you get started making YouTube videos?
Making YouTube videos almost to the day, almost a year ago, I started on YouTube. And I started, so what I kind of started, it was actually funny. We play this game called DayZ, as you may have seen before, but we really enjoy that game. And what's crazy about that game is that when you start off with nothing and you build up, you loot. So it's post-apocalyptic. So you go around and you find things, find guns, find backpacks and stuff like that. But if you find somebody or like another character, you have to decide right then: do I kill that person, or do you kind of like try to be friendly? Because what happens is if you end up dying, you have to start all over again. And it's like, so you might work on a character for 4 or 5 days, right? And then you find somebody, or somebody wants to be stupid and kill you, and then now you're like, crap, now I gotta start over, right? so you have to decide what kind of person are you going to be in that. So what we did was, because it took so long to build these characters, I started recording it, because when we would find somebody, I wanted to record that interaction. Now, it was few and far between, and it still is to this day, few and far between with that game. But
Right.
I like recording that interaction. So we're like, well, where's a good place to store that? Because I don't have a lot of hard drive space and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, there's other things out there like Twitch and stuff like that. So I actually started on Twitch, and because gaming genre is just so saturated, very, very saturated, it's hard to find. Like, everybody can play a game, and if they have a hot moment, that's just a hot video. It just happens to be, but it's really hard to retain people to sit there and watch you for hours,
Right.
So when YouTube gaming came out almost a year ago, that's when I said, okay, I'm going to jump on that bandwagon and try to drum up some subscribers from the very beginning and see if I can't, I don't know, jump on that bandwagon or follow that wave. So I started with YouTube gaming and just jumped in whole hog and wanted to try to, push that. And then somewhere along the line, I decided to do one maker video, and I think it was building the green screen or something like that for the behind. So when I do gaming, I green screen myself, and then that way I can cut my shape out, and it looks nice on top of the video game. So I built that, and I did a video of me making it, and it got pretty good results. Well, in respect. So I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I need to build another one. And that's where it kind of got into, like, well, I want to do more and more maker stuff. And the gaming stuff kind of became secondary. And part of that is because, as we said before, it's very saturated. And it's really hard to pull in people to watch games. And I think there was something else that really came out of it for me was, with gaming, anybody with a decent computer, no matter who you are, with a decent computer and you're a decent gamer, you can build beautiful videos and just, people will watch them. I think with woodworking, there's a lot more to it, or with making in general, there's a lot more to it. There's your skill in the actual, doing the project, the subject itself. There's skill in the editing itself. There's skill in the videography, the sound, the production, your face in front of the camera. There's so much that goes into this that it I don't know, I think there's just a lot more to it, and I think there's a lot more realism to it as well. So I took that on. I was like, you know what, I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. So about 6 months ago maybe, I decided, you know what, let's split the channels. So that's when I said, okay, we're going to do Southern Ginger Woodworking, or Southern Ginger Workshop as it's called today, and I split another one called Southern Ginger Gaming, or now Southern Ginger 2. So that way, if somebody still wants to watch, my live streams, I still do them, but they're on my second channel. That way I'm not, kind of flooding other people's queue with my live streams that they don't want to see.
Right.
Until YouTube, if you're listening to YouTube, come up with a way that people can subscribe for your playlist. Now you can say, okay, I want to watch this particular project, or I want to watch this particular, aspect of this creator. But until then,
cool. That's a cool idea.
Yeah. So until then, we have to have two different channels.
Yeah.
So that's where I got started, and I love it, man. I love it. I've grown a lot in the last year. I even watched some of my original videos, and you're like, man, what a difference. And I'm sure you do the same, and it's just amazing watching yourself grow, and just getting yourself out there. So
yeah, cool. So just as far as just being a maker, when did that start for you? Is that something that came with the YouTube channel, or something you had been doing long before that?
I've been doing that for quite some time now. Nothing probably to the degree that I do right now. But so I'm building out this closet. I decided to use the upper cabinets because they're narrower. They're only about a foot or something like that deep. They're not that deep. So I was actually able to turn those sideways on and stand them up. So it gave me enough height that I needed, and then the depth, because it was only 12 inches, I decided to use a bar sink or something like that. So that worked out really well, and it was actually a single sheet of plywood that covered up the whole top to make a countertop. And then we later said, well, we need some type of kitchen or something like that. So we actually turned the bathroom / kitchen, and we phrase it the bitchkin because it's a bathroom kitchen. But I have a lot of memories of that spot, and I had a lot of parties because it was upstairs in the garage. We had bands downstairs playing and stuff like that. And it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot, and but from there, I mean, that was probably my one of my original things, but it got into some crazy things down the line. Somebody brought a stretcher over from a ambulance, and we put wheels on it, and we decided to run it down the street. All kinds of crazy stuff. So, I've done all kinds of things like that, and until recently, I actually started filming things. So, building that upstairs in the garage really kind of, in some ways, was kind of like a test bed, because when I bought my first house at 22, I decided to let's refurbish the whole house. I've done some of this before, and let's take it on. So I put in the new bathrooms and redid the tiling in the kitchen and redid the flooring throughout the house. And it's more construction stuff, but that's that was something that I had to do. And we had these we had a big screen, like this 84-inch TV, because one of my friends decided to come over one day. He's like, dude, you need to have like a projector in your house. So I built this, I built a stand for that and everything, so it holds it up close to the ceiling and everything. So those are things that they're simple, but they help. Every one of those kind of builds a little bit more confidence and a little bit more understanding in the tools you use. So that just kind of all snowballed into what I do today. So
cool.
Yep.
All right. So far, what would you say is your favorite video you've made?
All right, so I'm going to steal that, and there's going to be two. Okay. So, because the one I like the most is because I like the artsy part of it. I like the videography, and the one that I personally like the most is when I did the fast center finder. Was a cool one. I really liked how I kind of zoomed in on it. I liked how it was very macro and stuff like that. And I love that kind of artsy feel to it. I know some people could see it both ways, because I was getting a little too close to the subject. One more recently that I really liked too was the pallet coasters.
Oh, okay.
The pallet coaster one I did, I really liked the videography of it, because I kind of started with a problem. If you watch through it, you can see I was drinking coffee and I didn't have a place to put it. So I was like, well, let me go build something for a place to put it. So I decided to go downstairs and build it. And what I did differently that I haven't done on any other video with that one is set up an actual spotlight on top of the saw and on top of the gluing station, and everything I was doing, I had just a single light source. So it gave it a real dramatic kind of feel to it. And that was the first time that I kind of played around with that idea. And I really liked that that was kind of fun, because not only do we push ourselves as creators to do better creations, we push ourselves from a videography side and say, well, let's do something that other people haven't done, or let's do something that we haven't done and felt uncomfortable doing, so let's just do it. And one thing that was weird about that is having a single light. When you're using the saw and stuff, you have to be even extra careful, because you don't have all these different light sources and shadows to deal with. You just have to be extra careful when you do it. But I think the end result in the video was really cool. Now my girlfriend's favorite one, I asked her, she said the one with Kyle Toth was her most enjoyable one, because I think what was fun there is, even though I didn't actually get to do any of the turning itself in the video, I got to play around with the camera angles and stuff like that. And what was kind of funny about that is, when I got there, I had my camera. I just decided to bring my camera, and it was because it was in California, and I didn't have anything else with me. So I bought a couple bolts. I was like, well, if I have I have a fitting on below my camera that I can spin the camera in different angles. So if I bought a bolt, I was like, I know if we get to Kyle's house, he'll have some wood that we can just drill a hole, put a bolt through, and then we'll build something, right? So that's actually what we did. As soon as we got there, we're like, well, let's build a stand for the camera, so we have, we can do some filmography. So I decided to do that, and I really enjoyed it. He was a really good guy, and we had a lot of fun. And it was kind of funny, is just to build the stand for the camera. It was basically on a tripod. He had an old tripod, and we just screwed a board to the tripod, because it was just, it was an old tripod. But he was using cherry to do this. And I was like, why? Why are you using cherry to do something so simple? I don't want you to waste cherry for this. Give me some pine or something. But it was cool. He just had this nice wood lying around. He's like, whatever, I don't care. So yeah. So, I thought it was kind of cool. So it was really fun. And that was kind of, and I had some design direction. We knew we wanted to build something for my stickers, but somewhere along the line we were like, oh crap, we made it too thin. I was like, well, let's just cut a hole in it. And then when we cut that hole through on the top of the lid, I wish I had it with me, I'd show you, but if when we cut the hole through, it actually shows my SG logo perfectly. And it was kind of like a mistake, but it turned out perfect. So,
yeah, I've had a few happy mistakes in my day.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was, a happy mistake. So.
Yeah. And you talked about something there too that I guess maybe I'd never really noticed about the process, that making videos on YouTube, the way, being a maker and making videos on YouTube, it's interesting and fun from two different aspects, because you get to make it, and then you get to have the fun of editing it how you want to edit it.
Right.
And yeah, I never really thought of it that way, because I enjoy both parts of it.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes a perfect combination for that stuff. And and it's funny, is I actually, back to the Kyle Toth video, I actually sent him the raw footage and was like, here, like, make your own video. I'll give you the raw footage. It's up to you how you want to handle it. And he sat there and pondered on it for like, I think almost a week. And he came back to me. He's like, dude, just send me your video and I'll just play your video. So I thought that was pretty funny. But he was it was awesome, man. It was a good time.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So the next few questions I'm going to ask you, we want to try to ask everybody that we talk to, because every maker usually deals with these things. The first one is, what is your go-to tool?
Go-to tool. So, I thought about this one when he sent it, and I think it's a pretty common question, and still, nonetheless, is a tough question, because you use so many different tools for different things, but I still think my go-to tool, and it's probably a lot of people's, is my table saw. It's something that when I moved to this house, which I only moved to this house about 1.5 years ago, when I knew right away that I was going to build this, this shop. And what you see around me, this was not here. This was all just concrete walls, and I built all the studs and the drywall and put all the plugs in the way I wanted, put the extra 220s where I needed them and stuff like that. So I had plans to have a big table saw, and when I decided to get one, I kind of went not overboard, but enough that I think it was it does pretty well for what I needed anyways. Yeah. It's a 3 horsepower 220, so I don't have to worry about it ever bogging down. And shortly after I bought it, I decided to extend it to the full 52 inch. So to the side of it, you can kind of see it behind me here. Yeah. I can actually cut 52 inches to the right of the blade. So wow. It's pretty wide saw, and it's probably most versatile to do anything you want, anywhere from jointing to even doing your moldings and stuff like that on it. So I use it a lot. My latest fun tool, as you probably saw in a lot of my stuff, is my CNC machine. I enjoy it, and it within like 10 minutes, literally, like I got it, I hooked it up, I ran upstairs, I already had a file that I was playing with before I even got the machine, and I processed it into the machine, and within 10 minutes this thing's cutting, and it was just like, this is glorious. Because this machine in particular comes fully assembled. I didn't have to build anything, I didn't have to assemble anything, I didn't have to tap any screws or anything like that. So it was just plug it in and it was ready to rock. So, and I think, hang on one second. I don't know if you can see this in the camera, but that was my first kind of carving that I did here.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And it was the first one I tried. That was the first. In 10 minutes, I was like, well, let me do something fun, and that's what I did. So,
wow, that's neat.
Yeah. So I just kind of did it just to see what it would do, and that's on pine. I mean, it's it's going to shred a little bit. It's not perfect, but it was just something for me to see if I can do it. Right.
Yeah. Is that the first CNC you've ever had?
It is, the very first one.
Really?
And I've never dealt with the CNC files before, or pathing or anything like that. But back to the original, like kind of talking about my background, the graphic design background really helped me with this. Because I'm actually building a lot of my files in vectorized files like I would do for a t-shirt design, and then later switching it over to like a more of a CAD design and building it so that it will have the pathing for the CNC machine correctly. So it's all about learning, as you go, and it all snowballs into something that is pretty cool. So I don't know. I love it, man. I've been enjoying the crap out of it. I actually had a couple other YouTubers hit me up for stickers and stuff, or not stickers, but stamps, because of the stamp video I did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, pretty fun. So.
Yeah. So, what is your favorite material to work with?
So, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of different materials I've worked with. I've just now recently jumped out to like more kind of exotic woods, I guess, or hardwoods. Mm-hmm. When I bought my house, I actually had a whole bunch of just pine scrap laying around. So a lot of stuff I've done was a lot with just pine. But I did recently buy a small piece of 8-inch by, I think 20 or 30-inch, 8-inch by 30-inch bamboo plywood. And I haven't cut into it yet, but I'm super excited to try and see what it looks like. Because I mean, the grain is amazing and the side grain is amazing. So I'm pretty excited to see, what comes of it. My original intent for this was to build a skateboard, actually. So a small skateboard, and I built a prototype already on the CNC, but I haven't built it with this yet. I haven't really. It's one of those things where I'm like, kind of like, I don't know if I want to do it yet, but. I might have to run a few more, tests before I run this one through, because this stuff's expensive, man. Even for this, as small as it is, it was like $35.
Wow!
Yeah.
You said it's 8 by 30.
It's 8 inches by 30 inches, so it's not very big. If you buy a full sheet of this, I think it's close to $500. So it's not cheap. So I'm like, I don't want to cut into it until I'm absolutely certain that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I know that's the way I was the first time I messed with a nicer hardwood, something, I was, do I want to do this?
Right. Now, I've branched into like poplars and oaks and stuff like that. And actually, I really like poplar as far as, it's kind of like that in the middle of a hardwood and softwood. It churns very well, and it's got a nice smooth texture to it. And it takes a stain very well, too. You can make any poplar look like almost any wood, with stain, coloring it and stuff. But I just went to the local lumber yard actually and said I need some scrap wood to just play around with some ideas on my CNC machine. So they gave me like some maple and mahoganies and just some really exotic woods, and I'm excited to try and see. He's like, well, this is a harder wood and this one's really tough and heavy, and I'm like, all right, well, hey. So I bought all these like little scrap pieces of wood. They're not big, but scrap pieces of wood for like $20. So it's something for me just to play around with, because I really want to know, like, is cherry really good to hit on the CNC machine? Because that's a really fine grain. I mean, cherry might really look good on CNC, so I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that answer, and I want to figure it out. So I figure I'll try some different types.
Cool. Do you have any plans to work with any other materials in the future? Like something you'd want to work with?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely want to try, different things. I think, it's one of the things that I've noticed is the harder woods. As far as machines concerned, and at least in my experience, it's a little less forgiving in means of like you got to make sure your tools are super sharp and stuff like that to make sure that you're cutting into these things. A softwood, you can kind of cut a softwood with a dull blade and it's okay, but a hardwood's not going to like it. It's going to bog down. It's just you got to make sure. So I already have plans to buy new saw blades and stuff like that to start getting into the more thicker woods and stuff. So.
Do you ever see yourself branching out into like plastic or metal or anything like that?
So I do some metal working now, not much. I actually have a really good friend up in North Carolina who is a metal worker by trade, and he's kind of taught me a few things. Like you see in some of my videos, I'm doing some welding and things, and he's just kind of getting me started on that kind of stuff. I've actually had that welder for, probably 8 years or so, but I haven't really kind of mastered it, if you will. It's always been one of those things where I'm just not sure. I just don't. And my dad actually went to school to be a welder. That was his original intent when he went to trade school to be a welder. So as far as metals and plastics and stuff, of course, the CNC machine can do plastics and stuff, and that's something that I want to kind of tinker with in the future, especially like, do like a neon light through some type of polyacrylic or something like that. I think that would be kind of fun. And then as far as metal is concerned, I mean, this teardrop build that I've been doing every other week or so has really kind of pushed me to learn, how to do welding more and more and getting into more metal working. So
Yeah.
I can't cut steel on the CNC machine, but I have grinders and stuff that can help me do the cuts and stuff that I need. So,
Yeah. Do you have any videos or anything coming up that you want to give us a little sneak peek about?
any videos coming up? Let's see. I have a couple of things that are kind of in the works. One I already mentioned. Actually, it's a skateboard.
Mm-hmm.
Been kind of thinking through the skateboard thing. I'm hoping it's something like one of those things with like a skateboard, for instance, is I want to cut it on the CNC machine, which kind of limits my size a little bit, but that's okay because I can make a smaller skateboard like a penny board or something like that.
Yeah.
But I want to do it in such a way that it's not. It would be very, very hard for somebody to duplicate if they didn't have a CNC machine. Just to do it.
Yeah.
Like if I can cut like a cool shape out of it, but anybody can do that with a bandsaw or a scroll saw. But if I find a way to do some really unique carvings or something like that in it, I think it would be kind of cool. So I haven't really thought through the design fully. I have the outer shape that I want and the general gist of what I want. I've actually built 2 prototypes already, and I think I want to mix the 2 almost. I'll give you a little bit of secret here. The second one I built, it's upstairs right now. It looks like I took my flip flop and made a design. So I have a skateboard that looks like a flip flop. But it was the first time. What was cool about that one is the first time I actually carved the top of a piece of wood. So it's actually the flip flop itself is flat, and then the buckle or strap is kind of raised a little bit. And then I flipped over the board and cut the bottom tread. So it's the first time on the CNC that I've actually cut one side and flipped it and cut the other side. So it was kind of a little bit, kind of kill 2 birds with one stone. Where I wanted to see, could I do it? Can it register enough that if I took a picture of the coordinates on where I started on both points and I did the design correctly, would it match up? Unfortunately, I was off by about, I want to say about 1/16 of an inch. It wasn't enough that would make a huge difference, but I want to get a little bit better at that precision on that one. Right. And of course, the teardrop stuff. That's going to be an ongoing project. My goal is to have that done by October. I have a family reunion in that time period, and I want to try to take this on the reunion to the reunion. So, so the upcoming project for that one would be to do the flooring, and then from there the walls, and then it's a matter of just building the cabinetry and stuff like that. So, hopefully, October's not too far fetched, but we'll find out.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right, to give back to other content creators, we want to give you an opportunity to kind of shout out some other channels that you've been watching or makers that you want to let other people know about. Sure,
yeah. So the first guy that I actually met in person and somewhat reached out to me was Steve Carmichael. He actually lives near me, so it was a pretty easy exchange. And come to find out, where I live is actually where his family is from, and there's actually roads here called Carmichael Road, so they're pretty significant in this area. So he kind of, from the very beginning, he kind of sat there and we went to a Chick-fil-A, and he sat there and just kind of gave me just all kinds of pointers of what kind of got him started, what helped him grow, and what kind of your do's and don'ts, if you will. Yeah. And it was I'm very gracious for that. I mean, he helped me a lot, just get started, and also just kind of light the fire that kind of kept me growing. So I appreciate that. Another one that helped me, and I know a lot of people would probably say the same thing because he's amazing, but is Jimmy Teresta. And I wouldn't say it, I guess lightly, because when I went to the Atlanta conference, he came in a few days later, and we decided to go out to eat, and they kind of invited everybody to go out to eat. It wasn't exclusive, but anybody that was there could go. And at one point or another, he was kind of chilling at the bar, and I walked up and just chatted with him, and we sat there for, I don't know, probably close to an hour, just, BSing about stuff, about YouTube, about whatever, it didn't matter. And it was just one of the things he actually gave me a big tip on, and something that I think it helped me tremendously, and it probably helped other folks is your identity on YouTube. So, like when I first walked up, he's like, I know that logo, I know Southern Ginger, but I don't know who you are. And that to some people that might be okay, but I thought that was a big deal. So I immediately went back and changed, I mean, almost the next day, I believe it was, I went back and changed like my Instagram, my Facebook to be Zach Manring, but it was, Southern Ginger was the name under Zach Manring. So that way when people say, nice work Zach versus nice work Southern Ginger, right? I think there's a barrier there that it gets broken when you actually know somebody's first name and you're able to communicate with them. Right. So he gave me that tip, and I really appreciate that.
Cool.
And then the other one was April Wilkerson. She's actually she was also at that conference and sat down and talked to me about just, of course she's massive, so she has a lot of insight to kind of her journey and stuff like that, and just kind of listening to those stories really kind of help you prepare for what could come. And then if those things do come, how to handle that situation. Anywhere from handling a sponsor or not sponsoring or whatever you decide to do. That's something that was kind of cool, and she kind of gave me some direction on that. So I really appreciate that.
Cool.
And a couple other ones that I talk to very regularly. Carlos from Cactus Workshop. He has amazing videos. I love his style. Does some amazing stuff. He doesn't get in front of the camera, from at least that I can tell. But I love his style. It's very similar to my style, and I just love it. Lou from Live Free and DIY. He's actually not too far from me as well. I met him in person in Atlanta, but I haven't met up with him outside of being at that conference. Another great guy. He's got some really good YouTubes. He does like a weekly vlog as well, kind of letting you know what's going on in his life. Drew from Ox in the Shop. Actually, this guy recently has reached out to me. He lives like a half hour from me, which was, I didn't realize. So he reached out to me, and actually this past weekend came up and helped me build a tool wall, helped me get more organized in my shop. That's one of the things I think that all of us kind of take for granted as creators. Is we just don't we don't keep our stuff organized. We just keep crap everywhere, right? Dust is one thing, but we got tools laying around everywhere, and you might start a project like, where's my hammer, or where's my saw, or whatever. If you give it a home, and I think a lot of YouTubers talk about this, but if you give your tools a home, you'll just feel more organized, and he helped me do that. So we built a little French cleat system, and I've been adding to it, little things here and there. So those are some great YouTubers. If you guys haven't checked them out, I would definitely check those guys out.
Definitely. All right. Okay. Before we go, where can people find you online?
All right. So I'm everywhere, actually. My main website to find me is SouthernGingerWorkshop.com. I actually just bought that domain. You can also do RealSouthernGinger.com. That also takes you to the same place. You can find me on Instagram under Southern Ginger Workshop, under Facebook under Southern Ginger Workshop, and then I don't do Twitter too much, but if you want to follow me on Twitter, I have updates on there as well, and it's _SouthernGinger. And of course, the main one, right, is YouTube. If you do youtube.com/SouthernGinger, which I'm very proud to own the Southern Ginger name on there, because there was a little bit of a fight, but I got it. So /SouthernGinger on YouTube, where you can find me on there.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with us.
Sure.
It was really, really enjoyable.
I enjoyed it too. I learned a little bit about myself.
That's good.
No, this is good, man. I appreciate you putting this together. This was really cool.
Yep. Thanks a lot.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.
See ya. So we hope you enjoyed that interview with Zach. If you want to see more interviews like this with other makers, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, if you'd like to throw out the names of some other makers that you'd be interested in learning more about, make sure you let us know in the comments below. And before you go, make sure you head down to the description and find all the links that were mentioned in this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.